Boys and girls watching, look what I have on my picture today. Oh, but you know what? They're not bugs. Really, they're called what? Insects. Insects, because insects have how many legs?
6 legs.
Yes. Now let Mrs. Stewart tell you some information, okay? Insects have 6 legs. We talked about some insects in our last lesson. In our last lesson, we talked about these insects right here. What are these called?
Ants.
Ants, that's right. And they had 6 legs. They also had something on top of their head. What is those feelers, right? Yes, or the antennae, that's right. The antennae, and those feelers help them to feel for their food or to, remember they were going to get that honeydew, remember? They were sucking out all that honeydew. Now, we're going to talk about some more insects. Let's look at this one right here. Ooh, this one goes bzzz. What do you think that is? It's a bee. That's right. This one right here is a bee. There's all kinds of different bees. There's honeybees, and there are bumblebees. There's lots of different bees. And yes, the bumblebees are those big fat ones. Those are really fun to look at. But they have 6 legs as well. Sometimes you can't see their little 6 legs. But you know what? On their 6 legs, they have little pockets. And the little pockets are on their little hairy legs. And when they go and they get on top of the flower, then those little legs will get the different stuff that's on the flower, and then they'll go from flower to flower to flower, and they're doing something called pollinate. Say that with me. Pollinate. And when they pollinate, they help to make the flowers grow. That's what they're doing. They're helping the flowers and the trees to grow. How about they even help like the apple trees to grow, because they will go and land on the apple blossoms. And when they land, Mila, on those apple blossoms, they help the blossoms to grow into the apples. And oh, it's so delicious. Let's look at some other things on my paper right here. I see, let's see, a ladybug. Now, is a ladybug a bug?
No.
No, it's a what? Well, it's an insect. What is it? An insect, but we call it a ladybug. And this ladybug has the 6 legs as well. So all of these insects, you'll know it's an insect because it has the 6 legs. That's right. Now, some bugs are really big and some bugs are really little. Like there's a bug called a gnat. Say that with me. A gnat. Gnats are those little tiny black bugs that are kind of bothersome. They just fly around sometimes. Sometimes if you leave food out, the gnats will come and try to eat it, and there'll be a lot of them flying around, but they're so tiny. They just look like little polka dots flying around. They do. But those little gnats, they have 6 legs too, even though they're so tiny you can't even see them. Those legs are so tiny. But if you looked with a magnifying glass or under a microscope, you could see that they have 6 legs, but they're so tiny, really tiny. But then there's a great big bug. I wonder if you could see it. Get out your magnifying glass. Let's look. Do you see it? Let me see. It does. There's a Carter. Could you come point to it? He says there's one with black with horns on there. Where is it? Yes, this one is called the Goliath beetle. Oh, you better run. It's going to get you. Run. The Goliath beetle. Look how big it is. Do you remember we talked about something else that was Goliath? What else is Goliath?
The giant.
The giant, that's right. So this is like a giant beetle. Now, it's not really big, like it would fill up this whole room and be taller like that Goliath, but it is a very big, big beetle. Would you want that crawling in your house?
No!
No, I would not want these bugs crawling in my house. Now, the bugs are fun and interesting to look at, but I would not want these bugs crawling in my house. Now, let's look at this one. What is this bug? Or this insect. It's a butterfly. Butterflies and moths, they have 6 legs too. They do. They have beautiful wings and 6 legs. There's other things like wasps. Now, those we want to stay away from for sure because they will sting you. But the wasps have 6 legs. The bees, the honeybees, and all those other. How about this right here? Do you know what this is?
No.
A fly. Ooh, I don't like flies either. They like to fly all, especially when you're out on a picnic. They like to come and land right on your food sometimes, and you have to go shoo, shoo fly, and they do. But they have 6 legs as well. So there's lots of different insects on this card that we can see. Now look at this big bug.
A cockroach.
It's not a cockroach.
A cricket.
It is a hopper. It's a grasshopper. Say that, grasshopper. Now the grasshopper, look, he has 6 legs. He has big 6 legs. And even though he has legs, he still hops. And he can walk a little bit and then hop. He does, and he has those antennae as well right there, and great big eyes. But a grasshopper is part of the insect family right there. So we have lots and lots of fun things that we can look at that are fun that God made. But I love to look at the bumblebees and that love to fly and pollinate the different flowers and things. Now I do see something else I do see a spider, but let's count his legs. Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Uh-oh, is he an insect? No, he's not. He's just a regular old bug. He's just a spider. He is not one of the insects. He is not an insect at all. Now, we did talk about the grasshopper, but there's something else that's like a grasshopper. Sometimes they're, cricket. Yes, a cricket. Now I got to tell you about crickets. My house, we had to do a project, and we did projects, and they were safe. And we had to buy lots and lots of crickets. And the baby crickets are so cute. It was for a science fair project for one of my kids. And they're so cute, but they grow really fast. And one day, while we were doing the project, some of the crickets got out. Yes, they did, on the floor. And then we lost them. So it took us a while to find the crickets, and they weren't babies anymore when we found them, and it scared Mrs. Stewart when I saw a cricket hopping, and they make noises. But you know what? Do you know, like the bumblebee and the fly and these different insects, do you know they don't talk from their mouth? They don't. They don't make their noises from their mouth. How do you think they make their noises?
From their legs.
From their legs, that's right. They rub their legs together like this praying mantis, like the cricket, like flies. Their wings to get together, and they make that's how they make their noise. The bumblebee, when you hear go bzzz right by your ear, it's not because he's saying it with his tongue in his mouth. It's because of his wings. They're going so fast, and it makes that noise. Now, I have to tell you about another insect. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's hidden. It is hidden, crawling around on the floor, in the grass right here. And this right here, it's called a silkworm. Say that with me. A silkworm. Do you know that a silkworm is called a silkworm because it will spun silk, kind of like the web of a spider, how it's like that little small web that comes out of a spider. The silkworm will have silk that comes out too. Isn't that cool? It is. That's a neat worm, but that silkworm has 6 legs as well. Even though it's a worm, even though it crawls on the ground, it is a worm. So all of these, even though we would say, oh, there's a bug, we really should say, oh, there's an insect if it's one of these, because they have how many legs?
6.
6 legs. Oh, it would be fun. Now, I don't really like these bugs in my house, but it is cool to really look at them and study them. So maybe one time when you go to the store, you can ask Mommy and Daddy if they'll get you a magnifying glass. And then sometime when you're playing outside, you could go lay in the grass and you could use your magnifying glass and you could look for bugs. Wouldn't that be fun? Oh, boys and girls watching, maybe you have a magnifying glass and you could even do that today. That would be fun. Look for those insects. And remember, it's only an insect if it has how many legs? 6 legs. Oh, so fun to learn about God's creatures.